Tribal Chief. Tribal Chief. That's just the MVP of the night. It's always Roman Reigns. And years back, most people uh completely shitted on Roman Reigns, to be honest, and everybody knows it. Like, everybody disliked him because he had barely a personality, wasn't the greatest in promos, needed nearly any other top guy from the past to try to get him over legitimately. Even though, like, the only last time, like, the guy was considered a likable babyface is when he was, like, off the Shield because of Rollins' reasons. And now it was issued that the set of punishments when Jey Uso loses to Roman Reigns in his I Quit Hell in a Cell match on the pay-per-view. And then we initiated off a KO show where it had some trash talking going around the Street Profits, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, and then getting in a brawl with other top heels. It was a basic 6-man tag, and it was as generic as you can take it from a match. It was fun. It was a decent opener. Dropkick. It ends off, of course, the high ass Montez Ford frog splash. It was a decent opener. All right finish. We had some sentons, even though Kevin Owens wouldn't be allowed to interfere. He just did his running cannonball senton on the apron. Some German suplexes. Then they sold the leg. Daniel Bryan nowhere else got targeted over the leg for the later part of the match until they tagged in the Street Profits. And that was it. Decent opener. Thought it was average, generic. Ended up with Daniel Bryan saying something sus immediately after winning. So that was decent enough. Then we had Bianca Belair have a squash match with Leah Vega. Two uprising stars. Which one are we going to squash for the one more legitimately? Oh, let's make it for the chick that's literally having her own vignettes over being a physical marble and being an athletic gene in the place. Like, I understand what they're going for with this stuff. It just feels a little off-putting to just let Zelina Vega, that was challenging Asuka for the women's title, like, not that far ago, and then you just have her squash against Bianca Belair. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong getting a squash match for Bianca Belair to witness her ability. It's just that you could just hire some NXT chicks to job for her. You could just bring up some NXT chicks to job for her while Zelina Vega can do her own stuff if you wanted her to be such, unless she had a feud with her that she didn't. So it just made one person look more weaker than the other after Zelina literally been having close ass matches with the Raw Women's Champion Asuka, so it's a bit weird in that aspect. Next up, we had, of course, Shorty G. No, he's Chad Gable now because he lost. And he's a free agent at the moment, so he came issuing a challenge if he gets up to the Smackdown roster after he could defeat Lars Sullivan. He lost his Lars Sullivan. There was no point going over this. It was just his weak shoulder power slam for the finish. He tried to get some German suplexes on the poor guy. It was a basic as hell squash match until Kayla tried to get an interview with the guy while he was stuck in the middle of the ropes, saying that this is not Shorty G. Everybody's gonna see the athletic Chad Gable when he was talking to some medical dude. I thought it was Adam Pearce for a moment, but I really don't care. He's bland. He's boring. I don't care if Lars Sullivan even gets the mega push as he can, trying to be a rip-off Kane or rip-off freaking Gene Schnitzky or whatever monster gimmick they're going to give him that's going to be completely bland because they call him a freak because he was part of a gay sex tape. But that's okay. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just going to make fun of you most of the time if you get pushed to the top. That's it. It looks like they're trying to bring back the name Chad Gable because calling yourself Shorty G and having infinite squash matches with no character or any sort of storyline really doesn't do that much for you entirely. So I don't know if they're going to go into another random tag team or just another basic jobber squash because they can't make anybody below 5'10" look legitimate in any way, and that's understandable, but also messed up. Next up, we have Sasha Banks anointed to get Bayley to sign her contract for the match that she obviously is, and she signed it after the contract signing went a bit south with the steel chair. Bayley, Sasha taking away the steel chair away and forcing the belt away. Gave the bank statement with a chair. What a foreshadowing, because that's what happened on the pay-per-view. Yes, this review is coming as well with the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view review because YouTube likes playing games with me. I'm talking about YouTube CPU, they should be paying me. I wouldn't issue this BS. Also, sorry for the long pause. Also, we have the Law and Otis segment. That was a semblance supposed to be funny with the most useless storyline, with JBL issuing out most of the actual rules that the Money in the Bank briefcase have issued. And it makes no sense other than that Otis is a mid-carder and he doesn't deserve the briefcase. And JBL's like, he has over until a year till that thing's not viable anymore, right? So until, financial bribery by The Miz, even though that JBL's supposedly supposed to have a character of a tycoon, so I don't know why in the hell is he taking money from just a reality store host when he's literally like a freaking reality show star, even though he's a literal entrepreneur, even in and out in wrestling. What the hell? And, Gronson just gives his obvious damn that Teddy Long was there with a freaking beard, and that scared the hell out of me. There was supposedly some stuff. It was good to see some old stars. Rey Mysterio, like being this nice father-sounding dude with obviously a smoking past. If you don't hear him talking slowly, sounds like his throat was always in pain. And that's technically the segment. This and we also had our main event, Rollins against Murphy, over the ongoing verbal abuse that the Messiah gave to the disciple. And it just ended as okay as it can. It was a decent match. It didn't tell much of a story other than the ending of the show. It was just big move after big move, because I swear they would do the same spots if Rollins wasn't doing the Monday Night Messiah thing and he was just being the dickish heel, and Murphy was just regular Murphy. And regular Murphy ain't shit either. There was a flying bicycle knee, there was an immediate Falcon Arrow. The match was fast paced, initiative. He wasn't even talking trash about what was going. I think he was referencing Disciple and Messiah, and the match ended with still Rollins winning with his curb stomp. Murphy loses. Aaliyah comes to shield Murphy again while he was about to hit him with the kendo stick a lot more. So it ends with Rollins leaving out a battered beaten Murphy, while Mysterio and Dominic are conflicted over even trying to help Murphy after Aaliyah tried to put her body on the line to protect her boyfriend and in a standpoint of things. The really older boyfriend of Aaliyah. Well, that's until we get to our final segment. Roman Reigns names his stipulation of the match. Let's get the stipulation after if Jay loses, and he will be the endangered servant out of the Hawaii family. So it's like issuing like a head of a family. Like it's giving such a a conflict, like such a superiority complex over having it's so cool. It makes Roman Reigns feel more legitimate. The way Paul Heyman issues that it's time for the announcement thing is like we'll do this during the Tribal Chiefs time. Like Sure, what he can do with Lesnar, he can back it up because he can kick your ass. Roman Reigns just sounds legitimate. He's quiet, deliberative. It ends with a sneak attack with Jimmy Uso playing pretend of being in his office until he got attacked by Jey Uso, ending with a surprise of Roman Reigns saying that they're out of the family if he loses, or being the endangered servant, or just being his personal slave for the time being until probably he turns his back on him. Other than that, it's high cost, high embarrassment, and it makes the match have pure drama. I like the ending of the show. The rest of the show was pretty mediocre in my opinion. The match with Rollins and Murphy was good. I just felt like they weren't doing, if they could, why wouldn't they just do a no DQ? And there was no big end in the show to how much context that they had on him being out of the New Day. So I just thought that was a bit silly. The opening match was fine, but dumb. They have no stars. They have no stars other than Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. Otis, I guess they're gonna have singles runs with him, but Morrison, Miz, and Tucker are on Raw now. Lars Sullivan's the only monster they have. The only thing they can do is probably try to see if they can. Well, they can't get Kane because he actually has responsibilities. And Undertaker's retired. Only safer verdict is to get John Cena, get Andrade, get some guys from NXT that are actually popular to build hype to make SmackDown feel a bit different from Raw. Because literally the draft was literally the Raw draft. And they can have literally popular matches everywhere. And the only thing that they have for Roman Reigns is continuing this long-term feud with Jey Uso that I don't mind. I'm hearing teasers of The Rock coming in, but that's not going to just advance the product. It's gonna get some heads turnings. And yes, I love Roman Reigns' heel persona, but you need more. You need a more well-defined tag division. All you have is the Street Profits and Cesaro and Nakamura. You don't have that many legitimate mid-carders other than Lars Sullivan, and no, and some jobbers. And you guys are so quick on your narrative. It's better off to just bring back the Forgotten Sons, because New Day screwed them over at having any sort of legitimate position in the WWE, all because of somebody having a differential opinion. This is ridiculous. This is completely silly because SmackDown deserves a bit better because it's in a weaker time slot, but also a more bigger channel than USA Network. So I'm expecting a bit more from SmackDown, especially if the only high pod is your main eventer. And yes, that should be a high point of every show, but there needs to be a lot more issued in because there's barely any women on SmackDown other than Bayley and Sasha Banks. Like who else? Just Bianca Belair. They already screwed over Zelina Vega. It's this show should have been a lot more better. There was a few high points, but other than that, it's just a weak show in my opinion. But this was our go-home show for SmackDown. Hopefully you liked the review. I also have the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view review already coming up. Just need to do a small little couple tweaks, and I'll get this all uploaded in the span, if I don't know, under, like, probably before 12 o'clock. But that's besides the point, because my time slot is ishy. So, you'll probably see this later in the afternoon, but that's it for me.